Hello and welcome back to another episode of the MindSets podcast. I'm still your host, Angus Cook, and today I'm joined by Johnny. Johnny is completely outdoing me on the fashion front, which I was fully expecting, but I'm going to hand over to him to do an introduction to himself before we dive straight into this episode. Johnny, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome to Johnny's Grind Set, your second favorite other Asian.
Yeah, we've got a friend, Gordon, who does Gordon's Grind Set weekly, and he's the token favorite Asian boy living.
Yeah, I was talking to him yesterday, and I was like, the first thing I'm going to say is that, and he's like, I think yeah. So my name is Johnny Meatless. People know me on Johnny Meatless on social media. Go by, or what's Johnny doing? So I am a food creator who makes plant-based recipes. I am also plant-based, vegan, whatever you like to call it. I love like running, high rocks, just a active lifestyle. And that's me. I can't really say anything else. That's
cool. Well, before we do a proper dive into your life and finding everything about you, what I like to do on this is take an approach of what I used to do when I was in school, which is show and tell.
Okay.
So I ask every guest to bring something to show and tell. And the beauty of it is that I have no idea what you're about to show and tell and talk about. But I like it because it gives people a bit of a look into what you find interesting or something that's cool to you.
Yeah.
So what have you brought with you?
So I find it interesting for me as a person who has developed over the years. And you're going to be like, wait, what? So I actually brought my passport.
Oh, okay. You got a new one.
Yeah, no. It's just during lockdown, I was like, I don't really need one. So then I eventually reapplied for it. So, but yeah, the reason why I brought it and I find it interesting is before there was like Johnny Meatless and everything else, I guess I used like traveling / my passport as a way to escape the world and stuff like that. So before there was Johnny Meatless, it was like Johnny the Nomad.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I brought it. I was like, when you told me, I was like, what can I bring? And I was like, before everything, who I was, like it like kind of connects to traveling to Australia and all of that, and like being who I am now. And the reason why I went to like different like countries was just because I really wanted to escapism.
Well, I was going to say, maybe part of that also is from the fact that your background, as you said in the beginning, well, you've given yourself the second favorite token Asian boy living in London, but your background being Asian, Filipino, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
Did you grow up in the Philippines and then come to the UK, or is it more so because I know your dad, I believe your dad was Filipino.
Yeah.
So did you grow up over there and then come over to the UK, or did you grow up here with that background?
So I was born in the Philippines, but I moved to London like 1.5 years old or stuff like that. So I always say that when I was younger, I used to say, I was born in England. But now I'm like, no, I was born in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And then I was raised in West London, actually.
So do you ever go back to visit the Philippines? Have you got family and friends that are over there?
I'd probably say like 95% of my family members are still in the Philippines and stuff like that. When I was younger, we often went, but then after when I became a kid to an adult, prices just started college, university, just life in general. And then, I went traveling. And then, last time I did go was 2 years ago. It was for my dad's 70th birthday.
Okay, so that's what I was sort of referring to, is in the sort of being a digital nomad.
Yeah.
But having an origin and loads of family over there, you're more probably inclined to go that way. Have you ever gone the other way around the planet, sort of to South America or over to the States at all?
No, that's on my to-do list.
Yeah.
I keep on saying to my friends that we're going to go like South America and stuff. I need to go America, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that's still like an untouched like place that I have to visit.
Yeah.
And like my audience is like 37% US.
Because I was going to say, like the food content that comes out of the US is crazy. And obviously that being what Johnny Meatless seems to focus on quite largely, obviously in the plant-based side of things.
Yeah.
But the sort of market that's over there for social media and just generally for food is incredible.
Yeah, 100%. Like I literally always on YouTube just watching random videos.
Yeah.
I won't say exactly what type of videos, but I'm just watching it.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I've been watching? Is it Beard Meets Food or something like that?
Oh, that guy goes around and
Yeah.
eats everything
I
in
just
sight.
watch him. He's
Yeah.
like my like guilty pleasure. I'm just like
Yeah.
eating like my cereal and he's just like scranning like a full like English pie in the US and it costs like $50 and I'm just like, what? And he's just like, and I was like, wow, that's just amazing. That's just amazing how much he gobbles up.
Yeah. And so you haven't always been plant-based.
No.
And I don't know if you've always been interested in food, but when you were young, obviously growing up in London, one thing that I know, because I have Google on my computer, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I saw that you mentioned somewhere else that you took some inspiration because your dad used to run and used to cook food.
Yes,
basically.
correct.
So what's the story there? How did that all happen?
So my previous life, I'd say post 2018, I was known as the human garbage can. I ate anything that was in front of me. Just give me whatever and I will eat it and stuff like that. But I've always I think I've just loved food just all my life. My dad used to own like a food stall in Portobello Road. So I used to just like help him. Well, I tried my best just there to be security or something like that. I don't know, just be like, hi there. Yeah, so he used to have a food stall, and it was like Southeast Asian food and stuff like that. I think it was like every Friday and Saturday, like after school. Sometimes I used to like go help him and stuff like that, like pack up or clean and stuff like that. So, yeah, I've just always loved food. I've always loved what it brings to people, like joy and like happiness and stuff like that. And the food, I feel like it brings a different personality to people as well. Like you can always kind of tell who they are by just what they may eat and stuff like that.
One thing that I have found from my experience, yeah, food has definitely always been a thing that has brought people together. It's why you go out and you get dinners, that sort of thing. When I did the classic kind of gap year, I did it not when it was my gap year. I did it literally a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I went over to Southeast Asia. Had fortunate enough to be able to spend 5 months over there. I did visit the Philippines. I'll come to that because it was my favorite of the countries. And I'm not just saying that because you're here. But the cuisine over there is very different. And one of the biggest things that I was told, actually listening to a documentary on the flight out to Thailand, was that the cuisine's very different in that in the UK here, you're very, and in fact, we talked about this pre-episode, talking about having a sweet tooth or a savory tooth.
Yeah.
The difference being in Asian food is there's such a balance in the dishes that a dish is quite complete.
Yeah.
And so I definitely found when I was over there that a lot of the meals I would opt for, I then wouldn't be like, oh, I need to go and have a dessert after.
Yeah.
Whereas in the UK, like I have my main and then I want my dessert because I need that balance.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, the meals that I would go for with friends and that sort of thing, it was way more, well, it was way easier to go out and sit and eat with friends. And presumably if I had family over there, I could do that because you can go to one place and you can all be sort of satiated and satisfied.
Yeah.
Whereas like now, if I've got friends that are going to be like, oh, I want pizza.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I don't want pizza, I want burgers. And it's like, they are such disjointed locations.
Yeah.
Whereas over there, you kind of pick a place, you can get similar things or at least similar flavors.
Yeah.
But they're all so unbelievable in their own way. And the cooking is so fresh and so nice, which is something I love.
Yeah, hundreds. I think like Asian like food itself is like, I think especially in the Philippines is very like underrated and stuff like that. Like, and that's what I'm trying to like bring into like my page. And I feel like when people like think of Asian, like people always say they love like Asian food, and like there's so many other cuisines in Asia and stuff like that. You can go like Japanese, you can go Chinese, you can go Filipino, Vietnamese, but like there's just so much a broad like of selections that you can eat and stuff like that. So that's why I always love, I guess, Asian food, and it's just always quite hard to be like, oh, I like one of the other just because, but it's they all have something different.
Yeah. One of the things that I've reached out to a bit of my network. So I have a friend that I work with sometimes called Chelsea. She is also got a background from the Philippines.
Yeah, big on Chelsea.
Yeah, so she has given me some sort of intel, but also something that I experienced when I was over there is that the Philippine diet, as far as she's concerned, and what I witnessed,
Yeah.
was actually very like meat or fish based.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So the fact that you are on the plant-based side of things,
Yeah.
what triggered that away from presumably what you were eating as you grew up?
Yeah, like Chelsea is right. Chelsea is also my sister's first name as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have a sister called Chelsea.
I'm hoping that she isn't just lying to me and she knows exactly who you are because you are her brother. But
No, I think maybe just a comment like John and stuff like that. No, like vegan, like no, sorry. Eating meat and fish is such a big thing in, I guess, like Asia and stuff like that. I guess you also have to consider like financial thing and
as I
stuff
say,
like
this
that.
is the biggest thing I
Yeah.
hear about with the Philippines. It's like financially, it like earnings in comparison to like especially Western worlds,
Yeah.
just other countries in general is a lot lower. So then you sort of live off the land, live off the sea, and there's so much sea around the Philippines,
Yeah.
archipelago, that it's there.
Yeah, sometimes it's actually like cheaper to like, especially when you're a mindset of like you're feeding your family and stuff like that. It's actually just cheaper to like buy like meat or fish, and like you can like I live in a area called Batangas, which is very like surrounded by the waters and stuff like that. So I could go by the beach and then some auntie will be selling me some fish and stuff like that for like a good value price, and then I don't know, my parents might buy it and stuff like that. But then you also have to consider it's realistically for the family and stuff like that, rather than maybe buying like tofu or like vegetables and stuff like that, which might be like actually higher. It's like a side, like side ingredient, but
Yeah.
then the meat is actually feeding like the whole family and stuff. And then I think in the Philippines or maybe even Asia, like we pride ourselves with like being a community. So we're not just feeding like 2 or 3 mouths, like we're feeding like tens, like your cousin, your aunties, your moms, your dads. It's just everyone who might not be able to eat, we will try and feed for them and stuff like that. So if I was back in the Philippines, I can go to one of my like cousins' house and I can eat. And maybe nowadays I try like in a nice way, not I try prevent myself to go to the Philippines because I don't want the burden of my cousins like, oh, we need to buy like a separate meal
Oh, I see.
for Johnny
To cater for you.
Yeah. Like I'd like here's like some money. Like I have to always give. Like
Yeah.
I'd rather just not. I'd be like, I can take care of myself. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
okay. Like you can feed everyone else. This is
Yeah,
just
yeah.
one less mouth to feed. Like if you just have like the rice, I'll just buy vegetables or just something else. That was like my experience. Like 2 years, like 2 years ago.
Mhm.
Like when I went to the Philippines, I was like, oh, I can make everyone knows everyone knows I have this account.
Yeah, yeah.
So you don't need to like take care of it. But then it is the
It's the culture.
Asian
Yeah.
Asian culture that like we need to look after you. And I'm like, no, you don't need to. But
Yeah.
we do. And I'm like, yeah, you do. But I can take care of myself.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all right, mom, dad, cousins, aunties. Like I can take care of myself.
So is there anyone else in your family that's also vegan, or is it?
I reckon I'm the only person in my family tree to be vegan when I was vegetarian at one point. Like I'm just like the oddball in the whole.
Was it a health move then? Because you said you basically would eat anything and everything beforehand.
It was I won't lie, it was more like stubbornness.
Right.
So long story short, I lived in Australia. I'll give you the 3 reasons, we might touch upon this later.
Sure.
Was to save money.
Yeah.
Rather than like going from one hostel to another and then spending like 30 quid or sorry, like $30 into like meat, and then all of a sudden you go to another hostel and you have to bring the food, and then you're like, oh, I need to bring. So I thought that was a waste of money, and I was like, me backpacking, I was like, I need to save money. So 1, to save money. 2, worked on a chicken farm, very briefly. And then thirdly, one of my friends, one of the main reasons, my friend was like, oh, you're trying to be vegan, but you can't do it for a week. I was like, say bet. and it's been a long week.
It's been a long week.
So, thank you, Aaron Bachelor. This is the reason why I'm Johnny Meatless, because of him.
That's it. And so did you go straight into the content afterwards and switch that nomad straight over? Or was it like a slow transition of doing a little bit more food and then showing kind of what you're eating?
No, so what happened is I was living in Australia. I came back in October 2018. And then I worked, and then 2019 I was still working. And I think it really just hit in 2020, like the start of lockdown and stuff like that. And I was just like, if Becky can post a picture of a porridge and then she gets 100 likes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, surely someone as talented as me can, be good and get 100 likes for a bowl of like porridge.
Yeah.
So I started taking, I think my first ever post as Johnny Meatless was a overnight oats in a Biscoff jar, and I had like a red like tea towel at the back as a background, and I'm like, here's some overnight oats. And then slowly but surely, like in the beginning it was always photography.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, as much as I love my iPhone, I got cameras, because I can use it. So I started taking pictures of like nice food photography and stuff like that. So taking pictures, making it look pretty, and I was just like, all the content looked the same. I was like, surely I could do better. So started investing in like more cameras, more lenses, more backdrops.
Oh, it's such a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Because again, listeners of the podcast that have been here the entire time, the OGs, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
They know that I've gone through a massive transition away from like doing engineering, aerospace engineering, which is what I studied, to then being like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Went into like the business world, decided that the corporate life wasn't for me either. And now I go back to what I loved doing when I was a kid, which is working a camera.
Yeah.
I bought I sold my camera that I was using. I bought a better camera.
Yeah.
And then very quickly I've now got 3 lenses, and I've got a monitor, and I've got all the accessories and attachments for all of it. It's such a slippery slope.
Yeah. So before I went to Australia, I actually graduated from film and TV.
Okay.
Yeah, I studied.
So you stayed true to what you
Yeah, I studied film and TV, and then also when I finished, I was just like, all of my friends were like going into film jobs, production jobs, and I was just like, that's all. Or you could go freelance, and I was like, oh, that's all great. That's all great and all. But you first obviously get money as like peanuts and stuff. You won't get like, you're gonna be getting 25,000 a year and stuff. I'm like, I'd rather not. I'll just like, let me just do freelance stuff. So I was doing like videography on the side, and then afterwards, I think life was just moving, and I was just like, I was working and doing videography stuff, and I was like, life is boring right now. I just like, I don't want to be living this type of life. And then I said to myself, if I was to have kids, and then at my age then, at 24 years old, and they said, what did you do when you were younger? And then, like, if I ask my future kids, what do you do at like, if my kids ask me at
their age,
what did I do? And I'm like, oh well, I think the blueprint in life is that I met your mom, and then I saved up for a mortgage, I got a career, and then I'm like, that's all good and all, but I think that's not my blueprint in life.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me travel the world, and that's why I had the passport, because it was. But before Johnny Meatless, there was Johnny Nomad, and I wanted to go to countries that people didn't want to go to.
Mm-hmm.
So like all my friends were like saving up their money for Europe, and I never wanted to go Europe. And I'm like, it's just down the road. I was like, I don't want to be going like to, respectfully, all of these beautiful countries like Italy and like Greece. And I was like, that's just down the road. We can visit that anytime. I want to be able to visit like Sri Lanka. I did like 6 months of volunteering there. I actually climbed Kilimanjaro as well.
Oh, you've done Kilimanjaro?
Yeah.
So, well, you've
I've done a lot.
There's been a lot going on at the same time, which is really cool. But then the sort of where you've got to now, living in London, obviously you've grown quite a large following with Johnny Meatless, which
Yeah.
has been successful.
Yeah.
And you keep coming out with awesome new recipes.
Thank
The ones that I see that really seem to pop are the
Yeah.
sauces.
Yeah.
And this is something that I think myself and my girlfriend, Amy,
Yeah.
we always talk about food quite often, even if it's great food,
Yeah.
is often the vessel for the sauce.
100%.
So I don't know, as you've navigated through the content game,
Yeah.
what have you found most enjoyable
Yeah.
to do, but also like what do you think people are most interested in when it comes to the sort of
It's always the
make?
case that I guess every year I ask questions to like the broadcast channel, or I like, what do people like? Like, what do you like on my page? Because it's just like market research. I'm trying to figure out like what do people like. And then I think like the last time I asked was, or last time I looked at like the statistics and stuff like that, it was like Filipino food, sauces, and then Asian food and stuff like that. And then I just looked at all of the other series, and I'm like, I guess these are the other series I kind of have to bin, because people are more attracted to the Asian food and sauces and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been a big learning curve. It's just trying to see what people like, what series that people can resonate to, and seeing the numbers, and then like, okay. But then you also have to think like you're making content for yourself. As much as you love to produce like amazing content, I also have to consider, I was like, I want to make what makes me happy and stuff like that. So I think it's been a real push for myself that yes, I am a food content creator, but I do have like other passions in life that are not food related, but they can kind of coincide. And I'm sure like people are understanding the transition of the page.
Yeah, so the transition is not only just from the nomad to being the food, but
Yeah.
I think the first account I actually followed you on
Yeah.
was What's Johnny Doing?
Yeah.
Which is a bit more of your sort of life away from the food per se, and where we see a bit more of your like fitness and social side.
Yeah.
So has that always been a thing, or has that been a bit more of a last few years got more into fitness kind of thing?
So
I mean, you did Kilimanjaro, so there must have been something.
I've always loved fitness, and the name What's Johnny Doing actually came from a previous CrossFit athlete, Rich Froning.
Yeah.
So like back in the day, he was just like the one that everybody wanted to like be, and everyone wanted like just compete with him and stuff like that. And I remember like on his whiteboard it said, "What's Rich doing?"
Yeah.
And this was like the Dan days, the like all like everyone else. Like I think there's this iconic picture. It's with Dan, Josh Bridges, and like Rich Froning, and I think it's black and white. They've just done a swim and they've just like bulked up, and I'm like, fuck. Can I swear? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe you can say all the swear words if you want to.
And I was like, wow. I was like, no homo. I was like, I need to be like that guy, those guys. So, also I loved CrossFit, and I think my ADHD just got to like, I need to be like CrossFit. So I used to do a lot of volunteering as well. So I used to like go to like, I went to Copenhagen, I think. I went to Spain, and I was doing like the regionals for volunteering. So I met all of like the previous original like CrossFit athletes and stuff like that. Yeah, so I got like pictures with like Josh Bridges, Dan Bailey, Sarah Sigmund daughter, and stuff. So I've always loved sports. I played like lacrosse in my university. I was like the midi, so the midi could like run from like the whole length of the pitch.
Yeah.
I love basketball. I've always been the sporty friend.
Yeah.
Amongst everything else. Like, what is Johnny doing? He likes to cycle. He likes to like run really fast. He likes sports. That was my position in the friendship group.
Yeah. So then with What's Johnny Doing, I mean, actually, I've got to make a point on this.
Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
I ran into you the other day and you got 10-kilometer PB.
Yes.
Straight afterwards.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that came about. You just said, oh, yeah, we're just doing laps around Battersea Park. I'll see you after. And then I didn't see you because you're going like millions of miles an hour around.
I didn't actually expect it because I knew that I told Pete, my friend, that I was like, oh, I'll join his run, and he's like, actually, I actually have a run to do. I was like, can you like pace me? And he's like, yeah, sure. And then like I looked at it, and then I was like, looking at the numbers, I was like, I know I'm gonna get a PB at some point, just because of the. I was like, it might be a 5K, it might be a 10K, and then yeah, I saw you. I was like, oh, hi guys.
Yeah. And was that before or after?
That was before.
It was before.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
was.
way like when I saw that you'd set the 10K PB, I was like, surely he wasn't that chill before knowing he was about to put himself in a hole doing a 10K PB.
No, so me and Pete, we've come to conclusion when I like target, like lock, like I just focus on something, I will just follow that person. So I was following Pete for like 3 laps. Actually, I was following him throughout the whole thing, and I'm just like staring at his like t-shirt, his like shorts, his
Like,
shoes, and then at some point, I think towards the end, there was like this random guy, and then he was going faster, so I just followed him for like maybe like 50 meters. But then he realized, like, he thought that I had to like go past him, and I was like, no, stay there. And then I was just like, oh man. I was like, and then he's like, Pete was like, you know that you were going like 350s, and I was like, I didn't even realize, to be honest. I was just following. I just have to follow someone's feet, and then I'm okay. That's it.
Yeah. Once you can like detach yourself from looking at your watch for your speed, or even worse, your heart rate.
Yeah.
And then you can just like lock in and just like match your feet to their feet, and just let them do the sort of work, especially if they're faster.
Yeah, I changed the interface to like just the time. So I don't see the heart rate. I don't see anything else. I'm literally just looking at the time. I'm just like,
I've done that for high rocks. So when I'm doing a high rocks, which I know you've also done as well, I hate seeing my heart rate because it can only go badly. Like if it's too high, then I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
If it's lower than I feel it should be, then I'm like, oh, I can't push any harder. I feel worse. But talking of high rocks, you've done high rocks, you do lots of running, but you're also at so many of the social fitness events around. And what I think is really interesting about that is, and you've actually mentioned this, is there's not a lot of minority involvement in these, which is something that I think should change. But what's your thoughts on that? Where's this sort of feeling that around that come from?
I think it has to change. Like, I guess being part of, initially still is, like being part of the like vegan community, or just actually the food community and stuff like that. I remember me and my friends, we went to like an event. I'm not saying who it was, but I went to an event, and then it was literally me and my friend and another female, and we were like, we are literally the only people of color here. And I'm like, yeah, it is. And also we're like, yeah, we're never going to attend these events again and stuff like that. And also then now, obviously, being part of the like fitness scene. I say I'm part of the fitness scene, but I'm not. I'm just there. I'm just like on the side. And then I think last year, I think there was a lot of activations for like different brands and stuff like that. And I'm just like you see on your stories, and then you see it more often. And I was like I guess paddle was a very popular sport like last year, and then like, or just yoga or stuff like that. And I'm just looking at my feed, and I'm just like, yeah, like if you look at the people who get invited, it's it's predominantly like females, respectively, they're like all like just olive skin, like maybe classic from Southwest London, and like blonde and blue eyes and
100%.
stuff like that. And I was like, come on, people. I was like, really? Like, you can't like what is this?
To a degree, and like, again, respectfully, it is largely a copy paste job between each event. And I say that also from the side of being a videographer now. When I'm going to some of these events and I'm capturing, like, I look back at the different, when I'm transferring stuff off my SD card, it's hard to know when one event stops and the other one starts. Not only, like, yes, there's familiar faces in the crowds that attend and go along to these, but especially when it comes to the sort of standout people that are there, whether that's influencers or just people that have been invited that are athletes, whatever, there is very much a lack of the diversity, which I feel that there is within the wider sport community at these sort of social events. Yeah.
Yeah, I talk passionately about it just because I see so many like brands, like these big brands that are, like you see their ambassadors and they're still they're just all white, and I'm like surely enough that like the most talented athletes around London or like are not all like all white. I was like, surely, like I'm surrounded by so many talented like friends who could easily like be ambassadors, who are strong enough, fast enough, and stuff like that. Like look at the 100-meter sprint. Like
Yeah.
like all of these Americans, like they're all surrounded by some amazing African Americans, and we fuck with Mark. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Have you seen like it's I think it's a I think it's like a basketball like clip, and it's from a university, and like the coach is like, all of you are strong African Americans, and Mark, and it was just like,
Yeah, I might have seen that actually.
yeah. And then I was like, surely enough, like in especially the world of like London, like there was some amazing like run clubs.
It's so diverse.
Yeah,
It's
like
so diverse.
like Barked Off and London Select and stuff like that. I'm just like, these are boys, these are brothers, these are sisters and stuff like that. And then you look at like the community led ones, and I'm like, really? Like you're inviting all of like no disrespect to like the people who get invited, but like I always say, I think I made a post like at some point this year, and I was just like, look at the people when you go to events, look at the people who get invited. Like, are they all the same? Like, are you just gonna get like all white people and stuff like that? Where are the people of color and stuff like that?
And what I find quite interesting about the topic, and I'm going to take a parallel topic, which I think I've discussed either on the episodes I do with Charles before, but run clubs get a lot of flack, or social fitness clubs get a lot of flack for being cults.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of people, I remember when I first started going to like the Gymshark run clubs and stuff like that a year ago, it was like, oh, are you part of the cult?
Yeah.
And I'd always be like, no, don't be dumb. It's like, it's a really nice community and everything like that. But from the exterior, it can seem that way because it's a lot of very similar people that are leading these events. And I think that a lot of it will come from one brand sees the success of another brand, and that brand was founded by doing this with these people, and that's how it's developed. And it's kind of, they take the risk to start their social fitness club or run club, but they don't take the risk in being different with how they do it, because they're almost following a blueprint of this success that happened for this brand. And I do think the industry is overdue a different approach, because we actually talked about this a couple of episodes about a run club's dying, and I don't think they are dying, but certain run clubs do die off because they go stagnant a bit. They do the same thing all the time, and so they're looking for new ways to approach, but they don't necessarily look at the spearhead of their approach, which is the community. As much as there is a community, isn't actually that welcoming to those of different backgrounds. And I can certainly imagine if I was to go and do a MindSets podcast based off who I am, how I talk, my culture, my background, I wouldn't expect like 100 Filipinos to turn up. I'd love it if you did. Like any Filipinos listening, please come down. Anyone would come along, but it would be more than welcome to come along. But that's not necessarily represented because I'm leading it, and I appreciate it. So I think it would be really cool. And maybe this is something, if you're interested in this, drop a comment or message the page. We'll get Johnny along. We'll get loads of the other guests that we've had on to come and do a bit of a representation, meet you guys, and we could all go on a run or do something together. Because I think that's the sort of thing that actually speaks more than words. Is the act of doing something different and making that change.
I think someone said this previously. Like, it always starts internally and stuff like that. And big up to some brands who are like adjusting with who their employees are and stuff like that, and trying to bring in a bit more culture and stuff like that. But then again, it shouldn't always be like predominantly like the reason. Like, you want to like start off like organically and bringing people in and stuff like that. One of my friends, he was just like who like runs like a run club, and I already have respect for him anyway. And I was just like, and he's like, how could like I like develop and change, and like from the story of me saying like, I was just basically trying to call out like people. I'm like, look, listen, if you go to events or you go to something or you see who your favorite like brands are, like just look at who the main pages are and stuff like that. Like, is there any like diversity, people of color? But then we also have to you know, consider, yes, like people of color, diversity, but then also disabilities and stuff like that. People,
Big one.
yeah,
Massive
exactly
one.
that. Like we have to look at so many other um like other ways to like adjust and help like other people who want to attend different events, like, you know, if they have a disability or stuff like that, or they still want to like partake. And like I was saying, like a lot of other people like were messaging me and it's like yes, I 100% back this. Like I've stopped going to events because some of these are just like all like females or all just the same person, or when you like go there, like you are the only person of like diversity of or person of color. And maybe that's the reason why, you know, I'm like, I go to these fitness events and I'm like, hey, look, you know, it is me. Like, I'm trying to like show, like, you know, you can still be fit and you like, you can attend, like, big up, you know, Gordon and John and stuff like that, who like attend these events. And I'm like, look, we do exist and stuff like that. So yeah, but like a lot of friends were like, how can we as people try to be better? Like how do we like not like force it? And I'm like, you know, it always starts internally. How, from who you employ, like who you associate, maybe like run clubs, like who are your run leaders, like who are your people taking control, like are we celebrating, you know, like Black History Month and stuff like that. Like you don't want to obviously force it, but you want to actually organically.
You want to acknowledge it. I
Yeah,
think that's the more
exactly.
important thing is it doesn't, if you force it, then it comes across also the wrong way as if you ignore it.
Yeah,
And it's acknowledging it and letting people know that it's a safe space to discuss that kind of thing, even when you're on the run, like you could do.
yeah,
But it's also one of the things you mentioned as well is the inclusion of not just, not necessarily just the diversity, but the inclusion of different people and different abilities, different genders as well,
yeah,
is something that you've picked up on because I'm not going to mention any particular brands.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The events that I have seen that I
Mm.
have been truly, truly jealous of are
Yeah,
things like the paddle followed by yoga,
yeah,
which looks awesome. And like, I'm saying that as a dude who has only ever done yoga once and it was
yeah, yeah,
hilarious. But as the way that I train, it wouldn't be bad for my body to go do some yoga, but
yeah,
I'm not particularly comfortable. And in fact, I have used my class pass to go and do hot yoga, which is also quite funny because I couldn't stay on the mat. I was sweating so much.
yeah,
But I was in that room with a mate and the rest of the class was women. And
yeah,
that's no disrespect to the women that were there. They
yeah,
were stronger in those positions than I was. But I also felt like a little bit uncomfortable, almost realistically a bit pervy
yeah, yeah, yeah,
because I'm in this room full of women and I didn't really expect that to necessarily be the case.
yeah,
So it would be really cool to have an environment where maybe there are more guys at those sorts of events
yeah,
because everyone can benefit from yoga.
mm.
And I also love paddle.
Yeah,
And I would love to look forward to that. And also the conversations that you have with other guys in those environments. Like, it doesn't actually take long for guys to open up when they're in the right setting,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but it's making the right setting.
yeah,
And I think you've said this as well, but I mean, guys need a place
yeah,
to actually talk about guy stuff
100%.
sometimes.
Yeah, like and as you know, like I'm trying to build a community called join. Well, I'm trying to build a community called Join Afters. That's the Instagram handle, Join Afters, and then but then the actual name is Afters, but it's just goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously last year I was just like getting angry and angry, and I'm just like, look, listen, as much as like there's paddle, there's like run clubs, there are like yoga, there's so many activations, and I'm like, what about males? I was just like, you know, we want to. You
I've
get
just But like those that are listening, I've just absolutely spilt my drink all over me. Those that are watching will have enjoyed that. I'm just going to cover that up and carry on. Yeah.
So yeah, last year I realized there were so many activations for females, and like there was building communities and like so many friendships were being formed, and just like everyone was being happy and everyone was just like enjoying life, and I'm just like, you know what, like obviously it's been designed for like females, and like it's all gray and all, but like realistically males don't have that and stuff like that. And also then I had an idea and I was like, why don't like there's a male equivalent, like something like we'll be able to go to events, like not feel pervy. And so I've been to so many events where like depending on the movement, I still have to look down because there's like gluteus maximus is in front of me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I close my eyes and stuff like that. I'm just like, okay, cool. Let's just do something else. And I think that there's so many run clubs, and I'm like, but there's so much running I can do.
Yeah.
There's so much fitness I can do.
Well, this is the thing with the podcast is a lot of the guests that I had on, I did from physical networking. And that meant that I was doing absurd amount of kilometers last year, going to run clubs, trying to meet people.
Yeah.
And then doing these fitness clubs as well. I don't know how my body held on at that point.
Yeah. I love running, but there's a time and place for running. And like, I don't want to be attending so many run clubs. I want to be able to like improve in like my flexibility, my mobility, just play paddle or something like that, or do rock climbing or visit or do like hills. And then what I want to create is a safe space for men, and they can come and they can create friendship bonds. When it's like when we're talking about men's mental health, I think that's such a big thing. Like not much men like speak about their emotions and stuff like that, and sometimes it's just kind of like it's just stuck in, and they're just like, I don't have anyone to talk to and stuff like that. So I want this to be a safe space for men, doing activities. I always joke to like females or girlfriends, and I'm like, say you have a boyfriend and then you want to just dump him to this like event and stuff like that, and just know that he's not going to be cheating or anything. He's just going to be surrounded by like 20 guys trying to do yoga. And they're like, that sounds like a great idea. And I'm like, it's a great idea. Like you could just, and then see him back in like 2 hours. And I've been to events where it's like, it's the boyfriend has just been tagged along, and then they're just trying to do yoga, or they're just like on their phone and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. Like, and then it's just like, oh, another, like every time I go to an event, I'm like, oh, another guy. I was like, yes.
Well, proof of concept of this, by the way, is, and I don't know if I've mentioned this, but golf, right? Actually, I do love golf. I haven't played it anywhere near enough as I want to. In fact, I don't think I've swung a golf club on a course in over a year now.
Yeah.
But the thing that I love about golf is guys get a lot of sort of flack for it.
Yeah.
And the conversations that I've had with mates on a golf course, I would never have had anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because the act of doing some sort of relatively relaxed sport is distracting enough from the depth of, or the conversation doesn't seem as deep as a result of that. So like a friend could say to me, oh, like how's things going on at home?
Yeah.
And if they said that to me in a room like we're in now, I'd feel quite awkward about answering that because I don't really want to put that on you.
Yeah.
But if I'm like, oh yeah, this is going on. 1 sec, I'm just going to take my shot.
Yeah.
Oh, nice shot, mate. Yeah, great. Yeah, really good one. Cool. Yeah. Anyway, as I was saying, like, and that sort of distraction and the removal of it being in a setting that is so enclosed and feels so sort of not necessarily trapped, but it's way more freeing. It's a lot easier to have the conversation in that environment. And I think definitely from the perspective of the guys that I am friends with and speak to, a lot of the time we do a lot of our opening up to each other in and around, and sometimes after, because the endorphins, the activity that we've done.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I've had a social interaction necessarily with friends unless I've been in that sort of environment because of the true connection that you get with people in that. So there's your proof of concept. And if people are listening and want to get involved, then you've been given the at, and I'll put it in the description as well. But there's something building there, and I think there's a lot of interest for it as well.
Yeah, I definitely want to like. I've got a few meetings with like a few friends who do events and stuff like that, and I think it's just trying to. You may understand. It's like not to overcomplicate things and
Yeah, yeah.
just do it.
Yeah.
So I'm
Big
trying
time.
to, I'm trying to, I think the first thing, maybe like doing like yoga or like, actually, no, I really want to do Pilates.
Yes, I really want to do Pilates because I
Yeah,
love how humbled I'll be.
exactly. And I'm just like, I just want guys to feel the same pain as like, and like, I went, I did like B-body, amazing girl, Lucy. And then she's like, do you want to come? I was like, yeah, most certainly. Also at the event, one of the girls was just like, oh, like it's really nice to see guys coming to these events. And then like Lucy was just like, oh, well, Johnny's creating this. And I was just like, yeah. So we did like her body sculpting. It's like strength based with Pilates, and I've never been humbled by like, a 1 kilogram.
It's
Like I'm
absurd.
just, it's just, and she's like post, and I'm just like, it's like, oh my god, and like all of the other females are just like, what?
Yeah, yeah,
I was just like, yeah, it's really humbling. And I'm like, this 1 kilogram like dumbbell, it's hard.
yeah.
I was just
Really
like,
hard.
kudos to these girls.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, other big like people there as well, like they were like trying to do it. And I'm just like, yeah, like it's yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. And what I want to do is, because there's a bit of a community involvement here, and maybe some people would like to know a little bit more about you, not only necessarily in what you're building, what you've done, and who you are.
Yeah.
I'd like to display that by using the listener questions.
Go for it.
So for those that are new to maybe this episode, maybe you've come from Johnny's page, the MindSets podcast does listener questions. There's a lot of opportunities for listeners to get involved directly, almost interactively, although it's not live,
Yeah.
with episodes. So with guest episodes, before we do a recording, there's an opportunity to ask questions, which people have done today, which is great. And for some of the other episodes, there's opportunities to give your opinions on certain topics and get involved. We'll give you the shout out and we can have a chat about what you've said. So we have a few listener questions today, because they are a little bit shorter, but it'll be interesting to know what your thoughts are.
Amazing.
One of the themes that's been quite consistent
Mhm.
is about food.
Okay.
And a lot of people want to know, if you were going to serve someone else
Yeah.
one Filipino dish, so let's say it's me,
Yeah.
what Filipino dish would you cook for me?
Ooh. I have a particular favorite.
Mhm.
It's called kare kare.
Okay.
So it's Kare. When I was young, I used to call it kari kari.
Yeah.
Because I didn't didn't know the pronunciation, and then my family still like teased me for it. So it's a peanut based stew.
Ooh, that
Yeah.
sounds good. I'm a big fan of satay.
Yeah, basically that.
Yeah.
Which is like the Filipino version.
Yeah.
It's usually made with like oxtail, and then there's like, it's like an orangey color, because they use like annatto powder, which is like an orange, I'd say coloring. And then you have like aubergines, and you have pak choy and stuff like that. So that's personally my favorite because I love like peanut butter.
Yeah.
So I'll serve that dish.
Love that.
And then I'll use like a meat alternative. But that's my favorite. That's
Cool.
my one.
No,
favorite.
I look forward to it. So the next question comes from, oh, sorry, that one was actually also from Chelsea. It was one of the questions she wants to ask you.
Go on, Chelsea.
So the next question comes from Lucy, who we both know quite well. She says, if you could relive one day from the last year, what would it be?
Big up, Lucy Book Club. We love you.
Lucy's Book Club, go check it out.
I am a very family-based person, and if there was one day, it would actually be spending more time with my godchildren before. So they now living in Canada.
Okay.
So love you, Callie, Callie and Tio, Heiko and Kat, the parents. So I would actually just spend time with them, like literally, because I miss them so much.
Oh, that's
And they live in like Vancouver, so I need to go to Canada regardless.
Yeah, big
At
time.
some point, because I miss them, and they were like, so Heiko was actually my first friend in life.
Okay.
We met in nursery.
Oh, that's really nice.
And the story goes is, and it's actually food related. The story goes is when I was younger, we were younger in nursery, I finished my cookie. And then Heiko said, do you want some of my cookie? And I was like, yes.
We're boys for life.
Yeah. And since then, however old you start nursery. We've been best friends.
That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, I'll
Really-
spend more time with him.
Cool. The next question I've got is from Veganizer,
Hey.
who wants to know what is your go-to carb, assuming it's vegan, before you do like a long run or an activity.
Oh, I'd say maybe, let's say for marathon or stuff like, or half marathon and stuff like that. My favorite go-to carb is like spaghetti. Just give me a tomato-based spaghetti, and I'll be happy.
Okay.
But Mo, who's incredibly fast, Mo, Abdin,
Yeah.
he said his one's cereal.
I have done cereal. Crunchy Nut
Yeah.
cornflakes are my favorite, and they work well, but sometimes you can get too much sugar and like, too much fat.
He says that you need to find something else with high carbs and low protein.
Yeah.
So I'm just like at the back, I'm like, I can eat Cocoa Pops.
Yeah.
I'm just like stopping myself, but I'm not just eating like Cocoa Pops or actually I also do like Sturker bars.
Oh yeah.
I just
I've not actually had those yet.
I basically say it's like the vegan Rice Krispies.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Next question comes from Gordon. Gordon's quite sets Gila, who wants to ask how you currently balance everything across food, fitness, social life, and general work as well.
That's a great question. People always say like you are the busiest person, and I see you in everything. And afterwards, then I look and I take a step back, and I'm like, that is so true.
Yeah.
I think, I guess because my life does like revolve around like social media and stuff like that. Like, so when I attending events or stuff like that, I always say it's like for work purposes and stuff like that. It's technically what I'm doing for work, or like it's a great way to like escape, like and do like physical activity and stuff like that. And I love like meeting new people and like socializing and stuff like that. But I also love using my Google Calendar. I literally, as soon as something comes up, I have to add it straight away, and I have to position, and I'm like, I've got to do this. So yeah, I just say, yeah, I can't even explain it. I do find time, but I am, as my friends like to say, I am one of the busiest people.
Yeah.
And I always say them, and I look, and I'm like, I am actually really busy.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's actually hard. But I think you also find time to do stuff. Like, especially if you work, someone who works a 9 to 5, they find the time to do their 9 to 5 job. My job is 24/7, so you find the time to do your selected
Tasks. Yeah, for sure. Okay. The last sort of two questions you might be able to combine. So we've got Sam, who's written in, and Abby, who's written in. And
Big up Sam and Abby.
Abby wants to know, where you take a lot of inspiration from within Asian food generally for vegan food. And Sam's quite interested in what you would cook if you were lacking motivation. So sort of where's the inspiration coming from in cuisines?
I think because I guess I'm like a busy person. I'm always out and about, and I'm doing something, and I'm seeing friends, and then I'm just outside all the time. I think it's just I get inspiration like every day, every second, from friends saying, "Oh, what did you eat last night?" I always love asking people what they eat or what they are feeling and stuff like that. Or like when I'm with someone, they're like, "Oh, I could really do with like this and that." And then like I go to like a restaurant with them, and then like they order like a non-vegan option, and I'm like, "What's that?" And I'm like, I honestly, I love food, so you can respectfully eat a steak in front of me,
Okay.
and I'd be like, cool, because I love the feeling of people enjoying their food. So I'm like, how does it feel? What does it taste like? And then my brain automatically just makes everything vegan. So I'm like, okay, cool. So how can I transition this? How can I make this a vegan option and then change it? And then how do I get the same gratification that you've just eaten? And yeah, I think I just get inspiration like every day, just seeing people. Like I've got a network of different food content creators and stuff like that on TikTok and Instagram. So, and I'm like, oh, they're like, like they're so happy eating their food and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, sweet. Like, I want to make that, but I automatically make it like vegan and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, cool. That person has just eaten like a beef brisket. I'm like, oh, but I can make it into like a pulled mushrooms
I
or
was
like
going to say, like the lion's mane steak that you did recently
yeah
is really cool.
or like a jackfruit or stuff like that. And then like I try and kind of figure out like different components of like how to make it and like from the ingredients. So my head just like deciphers like what it's going to be. So alongside being active, my brain's always working. It's just like, okay, I need to change that to make it vegan and stuff like that.
I like it. Well, there we go. So thank you to everyone who wrote in. And again, for anyone whose question didn't get asked today, there are plenty more opportunities coming in the future for you to get involved. So please do keep in contact and stay in touch. The next part of the podcast is 3 pieces of advice. Ooh. So this can go quite deep. It doesn't have to necessarily be deep, but what we do here is I effectively remove myself from the room.
Okay.
And you've got to imagine that there is another 1 or 3 versions of you from a younger past self. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to know what 3 quick pieces of advice you would give to that version or those versions of Johnny.
Yeah. So I think I did think of this as well. I was like, so I'd say in my primary school days, however old you were, I'd say to him that like, be proud of your heritage, be proud of where you're from. You may want to like change your hair or your color, eyes and stuff like that, but just be proud of your culture, because one day you're going to be making food that people would want to make.
Awesome.
And then I'd say probably the transition from secondary to university, when my heart was broken by my ex-girlfriend. I'm like, look, she wasn't the one. She wasn't the love of your life, but in years to come, you're going to meet some amazing people in your life who will change how you feel, how you perceive life, and the world is your ocean.
I like it.
And then I'd say working, doing night shifts at like Channel 4, learning how to use cameras and learning the difference between apertures and ISOs.
Oh, the triangle. Aperture, ISO, shutter speed is,
Your skills will be necessary, will be needed in life. Like what you're learning right now is going to make a big impact in your life, and one day you're going to be using it to like cook food and showing other people how to use the cameras, and you may enjoy being behind the camera, but you'll also be in front of the camera one day.
There we go. And here we are. So the last part of any of these guest podcasts is the guest to guest questions. So for anyone that is enjoying this episode, I'm going to make a big bet now that you actually do go to sleep at some point. So I'm not going to make a comment on your sleep routine, but the previous guest I had on was a guy called Phil Lerney, who worked for or owns a company called Human 24. What they do is they do everything related to sleep and performance. So if you are interested in knowing what supplements really work and which ones maybe don't work for you, if you want to learn more about how your sleep cycles work, and actually, even though you might only be able to get 4.5 hours one night, how you can make sure that doesn't impact you negatively, and how Formula One teams deal with it, with their engineers going around the world and their drivers, or football teams, how they prepare for a game that starts at 3 p.m. even though all their training through the whole week has been at 11 a.m. How they deal with those phase shifts. Really cool episode. Go back and check that one out. It's episode 51.
Go on,
however,
girls.
Phil has a question for you.
Oh.
And actually, it was almost like he knew you were coming. He says, if you could only eat one meal, and I'm going to cut it down to it's one course, okay, because of what we spoke about with Asian food being a nice balance. What would the one meal be for the rest of your life if you had to eat it 3 times a day?
I always joke about this to like friends and family. If I was to bleed, I'd probably bleed grains of rice.
Okay.
Because I love rice. I don't care. Rice is life, and I'll probably eat like just fried rice, fried rice with like a meat option there, and then with chili sauce.
Nice.
That
Keep it simple.
that would be me. That honestly, I love fried rice. That's being Asian.
I've always got to say like what I would get rice choice wise, because I mean you do end up just
Yeah.
eating a lot of rice when you're over there. Yeah, some sort of special, not special fried rice standard, but like some sort of chef's version or take on it.
Yeah.
Where there is other stuff involved is just like a meal within itself. It comes in a bowl, and I'm just like, yeah, give me a spoon.
Yeah.
I will spoon that in. So yeah, okay, cool, good answer. What would be your question for the next guest? Not knowing who it's going to be, and also it can be as rogue or as deep as you'd like it to be.
If your friends were summoning you from the grave, what 3 items would your friends pick to summon you?
Oh, okay. I'm going to immediately, because I like doing this as well. What would your answer be?
That's what I always think. I'd say, well, he is vegan and stuff like that. I'd probably like a pair of running shoes because he loves to run. His probably something from the kitchen, like something that I use, maybe a knife.
Do you have a favorite knife?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then, what else would Johnny?
Camera?
I can. Yes, he would. He
Yeah.
would like a camera, because I think it's like what personality are you getting, Johnny? Are you getting the what's Johnny doing? Are you getting the Johnny Meatless? But you're getting like something else of him. So yeah.
Okay, cool. No, I really like that as a question. I've not actually thought about that myself before.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's quite
quite-
interesting. You've got to put your character into 3 different areas.
Yeah, 3 pieces. Like, what are you gonna get? Like, how do we know who Angus is? What would yours be?
That's actually a really good question.
Yeah.
I think now, and I said it was something that I enjoyed doing when I was younger. Anyway, it would be a camera. I think I've always enjoyed capturing moments and capturing. The biggest thing that I always say that I love doing and working with the cameras, I love capturing an emotion in a moment. That's my favorite thing. So yeah, I'd want that. I would definitely need. I was gonna say a pair of trainers,
Yeah.
but I've done so many different sports throughout my life that I don't think I would need a pair of trainers. I think the thing that I've always consistently needed is like a nice piece of gym clothing.
Yeah.
So some sort of gym clothing that I can use that like fits well. It's kind of slightly oversized because that's what I prefer to go for.
Yeah.
So that would definitely be there. And then this is going to sound really weird,
No?
but I'm going to need something that's broken and needs fixing.
Nice.
It's the engineering background in me.
Yeah.
But I like finding ways to fix things that maybe aren't conventional.
Yeah.
So like I'm not necessarily going to go and look for the part or a replacement thing.
Yeah.
I like being given a problem and then finding a solution.
Yeah.
So that doesn't necessarily have to be even like a toy or something like that, but could be give me anything. You could try and give me a car and like be like, cool, we need him to come fix it. And like that's what I do in my brain. Like I'm thinking about what I can see visually. I'm very much appreciative of what I can see around me all the time. And that's why I'd want the camera. Constantly thinking about how to fix things that are broken. Whatever that might be. And then the last thing is like, yeah, I'm going to need some sort of gym clothing because if I don't have the active side to my life, I don't know where I'd be.
There you go. Yeah.
So there we go.
Yeah.
Like,
You, but
really.
how do my friends or how do my family perceive me? Or like, what are the 3 things about summoning? Yeah.
And if my girlfriend's listening, you can be there as well.
Yeah.
So, like,
it is. You could be the one summoning me.
Yeah. You could be the one. Amazing. Well, I want to say a massive thank you for coming
thank
on.
you for
It's
having
been
me.
a pleasure learning more about you and having the general conversation. I'm sure we're going to bump into each other in probably a couple of days' time.
Yeah, 100%.
At this event. But I will continue to learn more, and I will definitely be down at some of the afters events. And I hope that anyone here listening wants to get involved, then please do reach out to myself and Johnny, and we'd love to see you down there. So where can people find you if they want to talk to you, ask you questions about what we spoke about today?
So my social media handles are Johnny Meatless or Johnnny, just in case you spell it differently.
Yeah.
Or what's Johnny doing?
Awesome. They'll obviously be in the description as well. So while you're there and you're looking for that in the description, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, share it with your family group chat or your friends. And the more the merrier with these episodes as we continue to grow. So again, thank you very, very much
Thank you for having me.
joining me. And to you guys that are listening or watching along, thank you very much for joining. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next episode. Woo.